Okay, so I have a genuine question. If your LinkedIn got completely wiped tomorrow, how long would it take you to rebuild your pipeline from scratch? For most founders I know, that's a super uncomfortable question because what they built is not a system. What they built is a collection of things that kind of works every now and again. And I actually wonder sometimes the same thing. Personally, I'm currently booking 100 to 150 calls a month for my own agency on LinkedIn. And I think, what would I do if I had to rebuild everything from zero? No followers, no connections, no paid ads. And in this video, that's exactly what we'll be going with. What I would do to add 50K a month to a business using only LinkedIn if I had to start from complete zero. Okay, so here's the order of things that we'll be going over to. First of all, we're going to be going over what I would build before posting anything at all, and why the order matters a lot more than you think. Second of all, we're going to go over the content strategy, and not some sort of like generic framework, but what I would do on day one, knowing what I know now. And then we get into the part most LinkedIn advice knows. What I have learned from actually running dozens of B2B software companies, agencies, coaches and consultants on LinkedIn, and how that actually changes the timeline and what I would do. So this video should give you a day-by-day, step-by-step system. You could even start today. The third section is actually the one I wish somebody showed me when I was starting out, because it's the difference between figuring out your niche and your content and what's actually going to generate new revenue for 6 months, or knowing exactly what will work before you even post your first piece of content. We will get there, but the earlier sections make it actionable, so please don't skip ahead. Actually, the biggest mistake I see founders making when they decide to go hard on LinkedIn is that they don't have the proper infrastructure set up where they would drive all the traffic to. So even if they go viral, they would never get any clients from that. The thesis behind this is we need to focus on the profile first, the content second. Every post we create sends people to your profile. So if it doesn't convert, you're essentially just wasting your audience. With the headline, I would essentially answer 3 main questions. What outcome do you help people achieve? Who do you help achieve that outcome? And how do you help achieve that outcome? When we get into the how, I would really recommend that you create a unique mechanism. So a specific identifier for the way that you actually help solve your ICP's pain points. So to give you an example, an easy example would be mine. So mine is a LinkedIn inbound funnel. The about section, on the other hand, we want to structure it this way. So we start with the ICP. We then talk about the pain points that they would be dealing with. We then talk about our mechanism and what it does to solve it. We then have some proof points and some bullet points of proof that you actually can solve it with that mechanism. And then we have one very, very simple call to action, telling them to DM you a certain word if they're interested in, seeing the whole system or learning more. And something else that's very important to make clear is that there's 3 main lead capture mechanisms on your profile. There's the message button, where you will naturally just get inbound leads messaging you saying, hey, what's your price? Or, hey, can I learn more about your services? You then have your second lead capture mechanism, which is your custom button. This is sort of the main lead capture mechanism typically, and it usually directs to your funnel or to your website or the calendar booking page. And then we have the third lead capture mechanism, and unfortunately it's actually quite neglected, but it's the featured section. It's essentially where you can add multiple links below your about section, typically lower friction call to actions to help build more trust. So this could be something like a YouTube video, a case study, a newsletter. Things like this are going to help the people sort of in the middle of funnel or on the fence get enough trust to then be comfortable enough to commit to booking a call with you. There's one more thing I would add into the system, which is 20 connection requests per day. But it's not any old connections. We want to do high intent connection requests. How are you going to do this? What you're going to do is you're going to find a competitor's LinkedIn profile. They probably target the same ideal clients as you. And what that means is the people engaging on their posts are going to be your potential customers. So what you'll do is you actually go to their LinkedIn posts, go to their comments, and then connect to those people. And actually, if you set up your profile in the way I've outlined before, it's very possible that some of these people accept your connection request, go to your profile, and then end up messaging you or booking a call with you to learn more. Because the thing about these people is they're already engaging on content which is related to your services and to your industry. So it's very likely they're in that market or they have some sort of buying intent relevant to your services. So by end of day 7, the profile's live, the lead capture mechanisms are live, the connection engine is running, and now the question is, what do we actually post? By the way, super quick thing, if you are a B2B founder and you want the system just fully built for you instead of doing it yourself, it's exactly what we do in my company, Starborn. So we even took one client and added $35,000 in 60 years working with us with this exact process. The link for the strategy call is just going to be below in the description. So book that if you want to explore how we could potentially work together. If I was starting from scratch tomorrow, I would not post just whatever I feel like that day. I would actually run a very specific content mix engineered to build an audience that trusts you enough to buy, rather than one that just follows you and takes your free value, but never even books a call. So here's the 4 content types, and here's the key ratios. First of all, we're looking at authority content. This is where we're talking about proven frameworks, real client insights. This is something that makes the ICP think this person knows what he's talking about. Educational content is about 30% of your posts. This is where we want to tell them something they don't fully know yet. We want to show them sort of the power of your mechanism, some steps that they could use to start implementing it, right? Sort of what I'm doing in this video. We want to make them aware of the problem, but the fundamental idea is just to make them aware of the problem. The third content type is personal content, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky because we actually only do 20% personal content. And this is usually, founder experience, lessons from scaling, maybe previous failures, maybe your background, your backstory. The biggest thing here is it's really easy to make your whole content strategy personal. And maybe you're already doing that, and that's probably why you're not getting leads, because you're building an audience of people who support you, who want to be friends with you, but they're not necessarily going to buy from you. And at the end of the day, you need to kind of look yourself in the mirror and think, what do I actually want from LinkedIn? Do I want some friends? If so, great. Or do I want to get clients for my B2B business, right? Which, if you can do both, great. But likely your number one priority is going to be get leads, especially if you're watching this video. So I would recommend only do 20% personal content, just so we do build a bit of a deeper connection and show that you're human, but don't overdo it. The 4th type of content is social proof. This is about 10% of your content. So these are more where we talk about real client transformations with real specific numbers. If you can't mention somebody or a company, that's completely fine. But obviously, if you can, transparency usually helps build even more trust. And the way you want to frame it in these posts is sort of like, this is the previous situation before working with us. This is all of the pillars of our mechanism and the changes we made. And then this is the later situation. So sort of going over the specific time frame, the specific outcome, and the changes that you made to help and achieve that. Now, I actually have something very, very important to outline. What I would never, ever post, okay? I would never post motivational quotes. I would never post GPT slop. I would never post random life updates. I would never post engagement-based polls. I would never post hashtags. And worst of all, generic advice that your ICP has heard literally thousands of times. And what not to post is much more important than what we think. Because posting one wrong thing can literally ruin your whole credibility. Right now, and this is extremely important in this day and age, because trust is at an all-time low, skepticism is at an all-time high. If we post one wrong thing, you can make a very negative impact on your credibility. So please be careful and make sure that you are doing your content and you're posting it with intention. So the content mix handles what I say, but the content mix handles what I say. But the single biggest variable determining how fast we see results is actually what I would do differently from day 1 because of everything I know. And that is what section 3 is about. So here's the thing about starting from scratch. I would actually not be starting from zero. Funny enough, because I've already run this system for dozens of B2B software companies and agencies. And that almost changes every single decision I would make from day 1. So, for example, if you're a solo founder, every post is a test. Every lead magnet you post is just guessing. and your profile tweaks would take weeks to measure. So in my case, if I was to do it, I would not be guessing because I already know which lead magnets are trending right now. I already know which call to actions get the most comments. I already know how to set up a profile that converts. We know all of these things. And even deeper than that, we work with many different industries. So we know what works at a very specific micro level. The hook formats for posts, I would not need to spend months A/B testing it. I already know what works and captures attention. The lead magnet topics. I would not even need to spend hours brainstorming, what's going to get me 1,000 comments and book me 10 calls from this one post. The content ratio, even the content strategy, which we went over in the last section. This is exactly what we run on 50 plus of our active clients. It's already proven. And the content ratio is not just a theory either. It's literally what we're running across our 50 plus active B2B clients. So if you're a solo founder, it will probably take you 6 to 9 months to learn what I already know on day one, which I know it's very unfair, but it's just the truth. And here's the thing. The reason you're watching this is literally the exact same principle. This video is structured around what actually keeps founders watching, not what I felt like this day. So if I had to start from scratch tomorrow with no followers, connections, or audience, or even paid ads, I would guarantee that I would be back at 20 to 30 calls per month within 90 days. And by the way, just to make one thing clear, it's not because I'm going to work harder than anyone else. In fact, I probably would be spending hours less than you would writing the content. But it's simply because I would not waste a single day figuring out what works. That's basically the whole advantage. So if you are a B2B founder and this resonates with you and you want this just built free, there's obviously going to be the strategy call link in the description, which you can book. And we will just go over your offer, your industry, your current setup, and what we would do if we were to work together. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video and talk soon.